I love thrifting. How about you? Today I've got 7 DIY thrift flips. I'm going to take this really cute tray that I got at the thrift store, and I've had it for a long time, and I actually liked the pattern when I bought it, but now I want to do something different with it. First thing I'm doing is cleaning it with some alcohol, and I keep my alcohol in that little container that you just saw a moment ago. Very easy to use, and I got it, I think, at Dollar Tree. And now I'm using the color ink from Waverly Chalk Paint to go ahead and paint the entire thing, and that's just going to be the first layer of paint that I use. The next layer is going to be the wax in white from Waverly, and I like it because you can still kind of see the dark color sort of peeking through, and it gives it a little bit of, you know, a distressed type look, almost a whitewash, and I really like the effect. Plus, you know, because it's a wax, it's a little bit more slippery, and it just goes on with a little bit of a shine, and I really like the way it looks, and you can even see the brush strokes, which is something else that I really like about it. I want to put something in the center of it that's decorative, and I got this home sign from the Dollar Tree. Oh, actually, I think it was Target Dollar Spot. Sorry about that. And I have this burlap kind of ribbon I got from Walmart, and I thought, you know what, I love texture, and I want to kind of mix the elements with the metal and the burlap and then the wood. So I'm just going to put this diagonally across, cut off kind of those little edges, and hot glue it inside. And then I'm going to hot glue the word home right across that. And I just think that makes it so cute, but it's simple, and I can put things in the tray and style it that way. I really love how this one turned out. It's simple, but yet it's really homey, and it's interesting to me with all the different textures, and I'd love to know what you think. Would you have added the burlap, or would you have just put the word home right on the tray? Let me know. Really cute pieces were on their way to the Goodwill when I was able to get them for free from a friend. And I'm using the Agave color of Waverly Chalk Paint to paint just the very top of them. And I'm going to use my little heat tool to dry them so I don't have to wait so long. Link in the description if you want one. And I'm going to use a chippy brush and my White Kills primer paint, and I'm going to kind of whitewash that, and then I'm going to make sure that the edges are nice and white because I got a little paint over on the sides by accident. Now I'm taking a nail file, and I'm going to go around every hard edge around the outside. So basically there's the one at the top where the agave meets the white, there's the far edge where it would lay down, and then there's like a little middle ridge. And I'm also going to do the knob on there as well, just to make sure that it gets that kind of distressed look. I'm going to use my sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree just to go over the top where the agave and the whitewash were, just to smooth it out a little bit. And then I'm going to take this polyacrylic varnish by Minwax, and I'm going to go ahead and just cover the top, the sides, and the knob. I have these little napkin rings from the Dollar Tree, and it comes 6 in a pack, and I'm going to use 2 for each of these. We'll call them sconces, and I'm going to hot glue 2 together and kind of line up the seams on them so that it becomes a little bit longer. I'm going to do that for both of these. And then what I'm going to do is use that almost like a little flower vase. And I've got these flowers from Dollar Tree. I'm going to push the leaves up and then use my tin snips to go ahead and just cut off little pieces. I like it better when I can kind of decide the size of them. And I'm just going to arrange them. I have two different kinds, like a baby's breath and a little white flower. And I put them together. I'm going to make two little bouquets, one for each of those little vase things that I made. I have this really cute ribbon with kind of a swirly design on it, white and like almost like a gray, and I got that at Walmart. And I'm going to wrap it around the bottom of the bouquet, and then I'm going to also hot glue at the end when I'm all done. And I'm going to just do that too. I didn't want to use twine on this one because it's a little bit more modern farmhouse and it's got the silver, and I just thought this looked better. And then I'm going to take my tin snips when I'm done, and I'm going to snip the very ends of the little stems because they hang out just a little bit and I didn't want to see those. They are such a handy tool. I will also leave a link for those in my description box. Next, I'm going to put some hot glue on the side of the little vase, and I'm going to hot glue it right to the sconce. And then I'm going to take my flowers and I'm going to hot glue the very bottom to the inside of the little vase, and just make sure it's sticking nice and add any hot glue where I might need it to secure that. And then I'm going to put a little under the flowers as well. I really loved how this turned out with the color and everything. I hope you guys like it too. DIY, I found these really cool looking sconces, and they are bright gold, which is not what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and use my little alcohol thing and clean them off because they've been sitting around for a long time. I got them at a Goodwill. I don't even know how long ago it was now, but I'm finally going to do something with them. Now, I don't know if I'm going to put them up like sconces or let them sit down. I'm going to go ahead and go in that direction, at least for now. So they'll end up sitting just the way you see them right now once they're done. I am using this Kills all-purpose primer in white, and it's really good if you're going to want to do like any kind of an antiquing technique because it covers, but you can put it on lighter. So as you notice, I'm not like going for full saturation here. I'm just going ahead and painting it and letting the strokes show, and even kind of sloppy, but trying to get it in all the little nooks and crannies and make sure that I did cover all of it, including the bottom, which I almost forgot to do. You'll see here in a minute. Now I'm going to take my Antique Wax by Waverly, and I'm going to dry brush it all around the entire sconce. That means I'm putting a little bit on my brush, dabbing some off, and then going on lightly. And what I'm trying to do is create this very antiqued kind of a look. There's going to be one more layer after this, but this is the middle layer. So first was the primer, and now is this Antique Wax, and then next you'll see I'm going to add a different wax on top. I'm loving how this is turning out, and I'm just kind of dabbing it all around and getting in all the little deeper parts, especially where it looks like there's an edge or a little point, you know, where it would collect more of the dirt or whatever. That's what I'm trying to do. And now for the last layer, I'm going to use the white Waverly Wax, and I'm just going to lighten it up and give it a kind of that blonde distressed wood look, and I just love it. It just turned out so good. I have never done this particular technique before, and I'm just really happy with how it turned out. You'll definitely have to let me know what you think. And right about here is when I realized I had not painted the bottom yet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. I am so happy with how this turned out. I love it. I hope you guys love it too. I found is from Holland or the Netherlands, and it's got that blue and white tile. There's 4 pieces of tile in the front, and then it's got a wood, base. And I'm going to clean it with some rubbing alcohol because, of course, it gets dirty sitting in thrift stores. And then I've got these peel and stick tiles from the Dollar Tree, and I just think they're gorgeous. So I'm going to start off by centering a solid one right in, the middle, and then I will try to piece the rest together around that. I think that is the easiest way to do it. It's not like a floor where I want to start in the corner. I want this to have a centerpiece, if you will. And I'm going to get some more of those tile pieces, and I'm going to figure out the best way to attach them. The hardest part was getting it flush up against the edge. A couple times I got it right there, and a couple times there was a gap. So you'll see in a little bit how I try to deal with that gap. But I think it came out good, and so I'm not going to worry too much about that little teeny gap. I'm going to go ahead and just continue piecing it so that the lines are all, where they're supposed to line up. Now, when I'm all done with these pieces, I end up with 4 little corners left. That's where it gets tricky because it turns out I only have 3 pieces that fit in those corners, so I kind of had to wing it on the last one, but I think I figured out a way to camouflage it. So you'll have to let me know if you think that worked. So you see how I got the corner there, and I'm going to stick it in, and like I said, I've got 3 of those, and I'm using a blade to just kind of cut all the way up to the edge, and sometimes I do a good job of that, and sometimes I don't, and I don't know why that is. And like there, I had a big gap, so I was able to cut another piece on that one, but it wasn't as easy to do on the other ones. And then when I get to the very 4th little corner, I didn't have a piece like that. So I found one that looked the most similar. You see how it's not the same? But it's not like horribly wrong. Anyway, I came up with a solution. I'm going to use an Arteza silver marker and try to go around those edges where I didn't quite line it up flush to the wood edge. And it never really gets it the way I want it. So then I am going to try with some steel Waverly chalk paint. And so I go ahead and I do that, but then you see the line. So then I got out my chippy brush and I thought, you know what? I don't want this to be quite this shiny anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to dry brush over the whole thing. But first I'm going to paint the wood base all in that steel color. I love that color and I think it'll match really well. Not too fond of that shade of wood that it was. So as I'm doing this, it took about 2 coats. And then I also took a little bit of the silver metallic folklore paint and I just very lightly dry brushed that over the gray on the handles and the base. And now I'm doing the steel over the top of the tiles, and that gets rid of some of the shine and it helps camouflage some of those edges that I filled in. I'm going to do that also with the silver on all of the wood and the center. And then because I still see that gray, I will come back in with some of my white paint and just very lightly dry brush around the entire thing. And that way it really camouflages it. And so I feel like once I hit it with the white, and then I was getting it on the wood, so I thought, ooh, I kind of like that. So I very lightly dry brushed. And you guys know dry brushing is you put very little on your brush, wipe most of it off, and then drag it across your surface. That way you can control just how much is on there. I am loving how this turned out. I really do think it came out really nice. And I did put Mod Podge all over it. And you will see it in the final reveal what it looks like when it's all dry. But I'm very happy with how it turned out, and I hope you guys like it. Little, I don't know what exactly it is, a little drawer with maybe it's a pencil holder or something like that for a desk. They look like little fake books, but I found this at a thrift store and I thought I could do something cute with this. And I'm kind of going to go with the same color scheme as I did before. I'm going to prime it with my Kills white primer. I went ahead and I just did a light coat of that, and I'm going to use that Agave paint by Waverly. I'm going to cover the entire drawer and the little pencil holder. The only thing I'm not going to do is the knob. Once they're all painted, I'm going to take my metallic silver from Folklore Paints, and I am going to just paint that little knob. I'm going to take that white Kills primer that I had, and I'm going to do a little bit of whitewashing, kind of distressing like I did on the last piece, because I want them to have a cohesive look. And it's like a dry brush. I'm just putting a teeny bit on my brush, wiping most of it off, and then lightly dragging it across until I get the look that I want. And really, there's no right or wrong way. You can do this until it's exactly to your liking. That's the beauty of crafting. You get to do what you want. I wanted this piece to have just a teeny bit of shine, so I took that metallic silver and I kind of dry brushed it all around. You know, nothing heavy, but I just wanted to give it a little extra pizzazz. I'm going to take these white flowers and white baby's breath from the Dollar Tree and a part of a foam ball that I had used, and I'm going to cut it so that it will fit inside of what the pencil holder would be, because I want this to become a vase. So I'm going to stick that in there, and then I'm just going to cut the flowers, push the leaves up, and arrange them just, you know, the way that I like them, and using the tin snip to cut them to the right lengths. I have these little silver like Mardi Gras beads that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I decided that instead of filling it with moss or anything else, I'm just going to fill it with these silver beads, and I think it just looks really cute, kind of goes together with everything else, and just gives it a little bit more of that modern look, but still farmhouse. I am super happy with the way this is turning out. I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments if this is something that you like. From a thrift store, and then I've also got this little cow moo sign from Dollar General, super cute. I took it apart, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint this frame white. I know it's already distressed and all that, but I wanted it to be a little bit whiter, and then I'm going to re-distress it. Yeah, crazy, right? But I just like the whiter look. So I'm also going to paint the center. It takes about 3 coats to cover that because I want to get rid of all the black. I used my white Kills primer for the white paint. Now that it's all painted white, I'm going to take my sanding sponge from Dollar Tree and I'm going to distress it again. Basically, it's just revealing the parts that were already sanded down, but now it's a whiter frame, so I'm really liking that. And then I've got this scrap paper from Hobby Lobby, and what I'm going to end up with is this red gingham print, and I'm just going to cut it to size by putting it inside the back where it's kind of cut out, and then I can use a blade on the front and get it down to the right exact size. Then after that's done, I'm going to put some Mod Podge down, and I'm going to go ahead and attach it right to the inside of the frame. I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is a super easy DIY. I promise you, if you can find a frame like this and some little element for the middle, you could do this so quickly. It was very fast. So now my paper's down. I took the little cow and I hot glued it down. You could add anything you want to make this match your decor. And this one is done. I love it.
Every change has a reason, baby, let it come to you. Every soul, every season.
Goodwill. Do not like the color of that kind of like wood / basket stuff on the side there. So I am using my plaster color paint by Waverly, and I'm going to go ahead and paint the outside of that. Now I don't really want to go in and paint the inside because I think that's going to be a big mess. So I've come up with another solution to deal with that. My burlap wide ribbon that I got at Walmart, and I want to just cover kind of the center of the outside, and I'm going to do some folds in order to create that. So first I've cut the right size that would go all the way around, and now I'm going to fold one end in and hot glue it, and then the other end in and hot glue it, and again creating some texture and interest. And so right now I'm just gluing those pieces over each other. That I've got the burlap the way I want it, I'm going to wrap it around the middle of this basket and then hot glue it to the basket itself. I decided to use some white coffee filters, just kind of hot gluing them around the top edge of the inside of the basket to hide that other color of the back side of the basket. And it just kind of lightens the whole thing up, and it was super inexpensive to do this, and it's an easy solution, and I can pull it out anytime if I want to change my mind. I took a little pick of lavender and I cut some pieces. I'm going to hot glue them together after I trim the edges, and I'm just going to create a little floral kind of bouquet. I'm going to wrap some nautical rope around the bottom and attach it right where that seam is of the burlap, so that will hide it, and it'll also give it a little bit of extra decor. And I just love lavender, it's my favorite. I'm so excited how this one turned out. I really like it. It's just so simple, and I can add other florals inside if I want to.
Every change has a reason. Baby, let it come to you.
Are you ready for more inspiration? I've got another video here I think you will really like. Click on it. I will see you there. You are truly a blessing to me. Bye.